Who's on your Star Trek hiatus recruit list? Episode 291 of, yes, Trekland Tuesdays Live with me, Dr. Trek, Larry Nemecek, coming at you right here from the heart of Trekland through Portal 47 and all things Trekishly Treks for the big picture, clarity, and sanity in all things Star Trek. Welcome back for another Tuesday. I hope it's being a kind Tuesday to you as this new year keeps unraveling and well, hopefully not unraveling, unwrapping itself. Yay. If you saw the topic today, who's on your Star Trek hiatus recruit list? I'm saying this because, of course, we've got still another month before we're back to fresh Trek with the premiere, the season 3 premiere, ostensibly the season finale season, we'll see, of Picard and the great TNG reunion that's more than that and then some. Supposedly. We know so much about it already, but people have another month to go. And I've been laughing. I did this last time. It's been over a year. We're so spoiled now to have fresh Trek all year long, even some weeks where it's maddeningly overlapping beginnings and ends of seasons. What's wrong with you, Paramount Plus? But here we wound up with 6 weeks since the end of Prodigy. And oh my God, number one, what are you doing with your hiatus time? I talked last week about some good ideas for how to fill your time. So I hope you got to vote in the Lappy Awards, the Live Long and Prosper Awards that Virtual TrekCon 3 is planning. They're tabulating now. You missed your window to vote, but you can sure join VTC in February. And Sunday night, the 19th, I believe, you can sure catch the awards. And I'll be doing an awards wrap-up show. 2 or 3 other great Trek folk. That's in the future. That was this weekend, but also this weekend. And I want to say it's actually not over. The Trek Talks 2, basically old school telethon for Hollywood Food Coalition. John Billingsley's passion project, and he gets passionate about a lot of things. This is one of them. He and his wife Bonnie have been involved. She's been on the board, I believe, even longer than he's been involved. And it's basically a wake-up call to the entire Trek community to come in. Last year, they raised a little over $80,000 with all the matches and things. This year, thanks to Rod's gift. By the way, Roddenberry and Trek Geeks sponsor this in with John. John and the great Bonnie Gordon hosted all through the day. And there were a stream of panels. I wound up in the last hour with some visual effects and art greats. I had the Okudas and Dan Curry and Dave Blass from Picard and Doug Drexler in an all too short 20-minute window. Overall, the day was a success, a blast. Anson Mount and Scott Bakula were the headliners. Just a day of filmed pieces and mostly live panels. Wound up raising with Rod's gift of $50,000 and then his offer to double the live returns. They wound up with $106,000, although it's creeping up because here's the deal. If you missed it, you can still get there. You can still just Google Trek Talks 2. There's an app for donating called Give Butter. You can click on the buttered icon and you can still give, and you can still see the live tote board, which is minus all the gifts that didn't go through Gift Butter. All right. So if you missed out, you feel bad that you missed out, whatever, $5, $10, whatever it is, you can still pile on. And Rod's offer to double will still, your $5 becomes 10, your 10 becomes 20. So that's going to be there for at least a few more days as I say this on Tuesday the 17th. I try to keep Trek on Tuesdays Live evergreen, so you're not feeling so much the time. But this is one point where I think it's fine. It's fine if you're seeing it now or even by the end of the week. It's fine to jump in. My main theme here is, and I did this a year or two ago, what are you doing in the hiatus time, kiddos? And I'm going to give you a call to action, a CTA, as we say. That's not the Chicago Transit Authority. That is, what are you doing in the hiatus? Well, here's one thing, and yay for donating last weekend, yay for voting. Those were 2 things I came up with. Here's the thing. Who are you going to bring to the hiatus time, and when, and what are you going to do with them? Now, if you missed those 2 windows I gave last week, look around. You've got all kinds of seasons. Well, for number one, if Picard is going to be the next up, and you have a friend, you have a family member that you think is ready for Trek, or maybe you want to test the waters and see. Maybe you've got 2 or 3 friends. Maybe you have a Picard rewatch, or Maybe you do a highlights of Next Gen to get them warmed up for what's happening on Picard. I mean, the internet is full. There are all types of places you can turn to get some spotlight. I don't know. What do you do? I don't know if I'd show them the Farpoint premiere for TNG. The All Good Things finale might be a better one. Just cold. You know what I'm saying? There's been all kinds of pontificating the last 5, 10, 20 years about what to do to bring people into TNG, those episodes, or what you show them the best of Picard. That's an interesting debate. That might make a good second opinion, since I haven't done one since the end of Prodigy. My point is, that's an obvious thing to do to bring someone into the hiatus. But what else could you do? What else could you do? Look, if you're still looking for other things to do, maybe you've got local events. Do you have a club? Do you have a Facebook page or a group? Do you have something local? That's something you can do to take up your time, and maybe you can involve a new recruit. Now, don't get heavy-handed. Star Trek does not need heavy-handedness. Star Trek's been around for 50, are we going to say 7? Or are we just going to go ahead and say 59 and count the Cage? The Cage filming and writing from 64. Star Trek's had some kind of magic it. If you heard our Trek Files a couple weeks ago, Gene pontificated on what he thought the secret formula of Star Trek was. I think it was a product of its time. His speech, not Star Trek too, but his speech was. But no, I mean, really, what's the secret ingredient that you use to attract other people when you feel like they're ready for it? Maybe that's even what you say. I don't know. Are you ready for Star Trek? Local events is what I'm getting at here. And now with the online extension, you can do all kinds of things. Here's another idea. Here's another bee for your bonnet. There's a brand new foundation in town, the Nichelle Nichols Foundation. And don't make the mistake if you go online of looking for nichellenichols.com or org. It's nichellenichols.foundation. I know it's a new way to get at it. The first event, yes, it was only announced December 28th. Okay, it's been in the works for months. I'm very proud to be one of several folks on the advisory board, the board of directors. It's a nonprofit. It's a 501c3 here in the States. That's the IRS code for nonprofits. Nonprofit says not only are they nonprofit, but when you donate, it's a charitable deduction, 501c3, just as the Hollywood Food Coalition was last weekend. The Nichelle Nichols Foundation, out of the gate, eventually wants to support all kinds of young people, women, minorities, anyone who needs a leg up in our system. Much the same way everything that Nichelle Nichols, as well as Uhura, stood for or represented. And we're even going beyond the bounds of what you might think. You know, aerospace, STEAM and STEM careers, communications, yes, and also in the public sector, also in government, politics, culture, entertainment careers, all these things of benefiting. The exact same thing that Nichelle stood for when she jumped in and challenged NASA in the late 70s as it was prepping for the space shuttle. I hate to say this, but good thing the shuttle program, it was so complex and so many technologies had to be invented for reusable craft that landed like an airplane, especially those heat shield tiles. It was delayed 2, 3, 4 years. Good on her. It just happened that gave her a chance to jump in, challenge NASA to recruit an astronaut corps that more reflected America than, yeah, God bless them, the right stuff, guys. But our flight corps, our test pilot jockey corps of astronauts, the way it had always been. And she broadened, and true to the shuttle's mission, opened it up for scientists who could take astronaut adjacent training, non-pilots, which of course automatically means women and more people of color. So that's why we saw such a diverse range and so many firsts in the shuttle program. And tragically, some of them died on our 2 shuttle missions that we lost, Challenger and Columbia. Many of those, I think almost half the crew of Challenger were people that Nichelle recruited. Judy Resnick and Alison Onizuka and Ron McNair, to name 3 at least. Point being that all the things that Nichelle wound up working for and using her Star Trek platform for the good, and she did so much good that we can point at. And if you hadn't seen Woman in Motion, her documentary, you should. I think it's on Paramount Plus, if nothing else. That's what the foundation is after. And yes, we're going to be doing that monetarily as we raise money and supporting young people with scholarships and programs and grants. But speakers are also going to be a big part of it. And thanks to the foundation, to the pandemic, we can bring most of those virtually. And ta-da, one thing you can do in the hiatus time is see the very first virtual speaker who's coming up Saturday, January 21st. For one thing, I mentioned Bonnie Gordon, the voice of the Prodigy computer, the Protostar computer, recently an officer on screen too, and just co-host of Trek Talks too. Bonnie is going to be the host and interviewer for Angela Dalton, who just released a children's book about Nichelle Nichols. It's called To Boldly Go, How Nichelle Nichols and Star Trek Helped Advance Civil Rights. And you may know a piece of that story. There's more to tell. And even more than that, this is a kid's book. So in the spirit of Prodigy, the spirit of Star Trek waking up and realizing its younger generation and that power, this is the first special event. It's free. It's on our YouTube channel for Nichelle Nichols Foundation. You can find it. Look, you can go to the webpage, nichellenichols.foundation. You can check out the Facebook page. You can check out all the socials. And it'll be free on YouTube. 10 a.m. 10 a.m. Pacific on Saturday, January 21st. That's 1 p.m. Eastern, I do believe. It's our Life Support Live time. What an auspicious time to be doing it. January 21st. So, yeah, that's this Saturday. This Saturday. Check it out. It's free. Bonnie interviewing Angela. In fact, I do believe, let me just double check this. It's Angela. It's the illustrator, Lauren Semmer, and Dr. Sean Proctor, who is one of our foundation advisors from the Nichelle Nichols Foundations, to talk about Nichelle and the impact and what she did for Star Trek and the world using that platform. Really cool. I'm very excited because it's our first foundation event. Wanted to make sure everybody knew about it. We'll have all the particulars there too. And if you're not following the Nichelle Nichols Foundation on socials, on Instagram and Facebook and all of that, please do so. Please do so. Again, we just launched December 28th on Nichelle's birthday. Still on the shakedown cruise here, but plunging right in, 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern, to Boldly Go, the author and illustrator of the new children's book about Nichelle Nichols and Star Trek and its impact on the American civil rights, on civil rights around the world. Stop saying, we know the Martin Luther King story. And if you saw my post yesterday for Martin Luther King Day, we all know Nichelle's amazing story about Martin Luther King advising her, begging her, pleading with her not to leave after the first season because she had so little to do and to go back work on her music and stage career. He said, this is something big and I can see it and you need to see it too. And of course she did. I just made the point in a visual that there's more to Dr. Martin Luther King's Trekkiness than his conversation with Nichelle, if you stop and think about the big picture. And not just on civil rights, but on uplifting all parts of humanity and how it echoed something Gene said. Anyway, that was a lot of fun. That's one thing you can do in the hiatus time. What else? Do you have something local, as I said, something going on? Could you throw together a project? I don't know. That's one thing. Because we got 3 or 4 weeks to go. And yeah, the drips and drabs are dribbling out. There'll be more leaks, more surprises. I was thrilled to realize whatever you might have been disappointed by the plot of Picard Season 2, my old friend, Tara Metalis, who was co-show running it with Akiva Goldsman, when they realized they were going to shoot Season 2 and Season 3 back to back, that fell on writing and production. And as Dave Blass was telling us in the panel on Saturday, they ended Picard Season 2 on the Friday and started Picard Season 3 on a Monday. And of course, in the art department and all the things like visual effects and art and all those related fields, costuming, wardrobe, prop, anything physical for shooting, you don't wake up one day. That stuff all has to be R&D'd. It has to be researched and prepped and built, assembled, checked out, tweaked. So you know that if they were shooting on the Monday or trying to shoot, they had been at work. They were overlapping their pay scales on all the prep departments. And it was amazing. That's one of the reasons why Terry got season 2 set up, peeled off, and began writing and working big time on season 3. So he feels less connected to season 2 than to season 3. That's all. We're all going to be talking about that over time. That's why we've had so many leaks and drips and drabs. And that's why, if you were bowled over, sometimes if not by the story, but at least by the look and feel of some of the coolest parts of season 2, you know, Dave Blast, one of the things I love about him was he's a fan. I mean, he's a fan. He has pictures of himself. Now we'd say cosplay. He's got pictures in costume. He remembers going to conventions, standing in line for Star Trek 4. He brings that sensibility to it on top of his professionalism as a production designer and a respect for that. And I realized, now famously knowing that he went back to the A team of the Berman era Star Trek folks, he had the Hiatus, he had Doug Drexler. Go down the line. Jeff Mandel, Alan Kobayashi. I mean, go down the line. Ben Betts on video. Monica Fedrick, who worked on the art departments of the features. He had those folks involved. He still had a full-blown art department. He didn't replace it with an 80s era sized art department, but he had them all doing projects. And as I looked at the panel we had Saturday of the greats plus Dave, I realized everybody had worked on Picard season 2 and 3. You're about to see the fruits of their labor unspool again. And if the Stargazer got you drooling, if all the cool in-jokes and graphic fun Easter eggs of even the alternate future and then coming back, if seeing the Nomad craft, if all those ship plates and saying that Uhura led her own ship, was captain, and went to the small Magellanic Cloud, the next Neo Galaxy, if you enjoyed all of that, there'll be more of the same in season 3. And then I saw Dan, who's certainly not retired, but is not actively working in visual effects. But you know, Dan's other passion is as a weapons expert. In fact, it reflects what he did in the military. It reflects what he did in other pursuits. Dan Curry, you know, designer of the Batleth and the Mechlith. Well, I'm not breaking this. It's not a leak. It's out there. Worf has a new weapon, the sword, the single sword. We saw those generic Klingon swords, the kind of thing that lower decks artists are now running around trying to draw again. The early years, the pre-Batleth days of TNG, you had all these random swords, and some of them got a spotlight moment, you know. But as much as the Diktog dagger back in the movies got its spotlight moment, but they never had much background. Well, in that story past, now we've got another named sword. It's a single sword. It's in his backpack. Yeah, he's a pacifist, sure. And it's the Kurleth. Curry with a C, Kurleth with a K. Yes, if that's not the right vibe. But my point is, it's a Dan Curry design. So yeah, everybody in that panel Sunday had at least a hand in some way in something coming up for Picard season 3. So if that doesn't get you excited even more than just, a bunch of actors getting back together, if that doesn't keep you excited for it, I don't know what will. So here's the thing. You're watching me. I'm betting 95% of you were a part of this fandom before 2017. Am I right? We may have had some fans who came in with the JJ movies. As shocking as that is to anybody who was around before 2009, I keep meeting fans who came to Star Trek with the Kelvin movies. So yay. I'm still waiting on that wave, and I've been reaching out. I have a Facebook page called Disco Was My First Dance. And the folks who came in with this current era of Star Trek. So you're excited to see the TNG reunion, but what about all the fans you may know or the fans you haven't met yet? Or the great unwashed who are fans of the Kelvin series, fans of the Kurtzman era, for lack of a better term, as diverse as that is now, as many flavored as that is on the Star Trek buffet. Maybe they've just discovered Lower Decks, and Lower Decks has so many TNG and Picard Riker moments, Q and all that. Maybe your Lower Decks people are the ripe group to bring over. All I'm saying is, you don't have to go find a complete newbie. You may have people you well know are adjacent. You may have totally new fans who don't have much of a clue. They see, yeah, okay, they know Picard and Data and Riker kind of the way they know, yeah, Spock and Kirk. Maybe that's who you work on. I don't know. I'd be curious to see your ideas. I'd be curious to see if anybody has local plans. I know the screenings are coming back. Yay. I mean, do all the things, be smart about it, depending on what's going on in your local area. But yes, is the time ripe to have good old public screenings again, sponsored? As long as somebody is paying the bill to Paramount Plus, we've stretched out all kinds of ways. When Discovery and then the very beginning of Picard started, we were still having our screenings down in here locally in LA at the Improv Theater. That was a generation or two ago. It'd be wonderful to come up with something post-pandemic for that. But I know a lot of groups around the country are finding ways to do that live and online. There's a couple I'll say, but I'll let them pop up if they're here. But as you do that locally, there's nothing like having somebody drag them along. Okay, fine. I've got to kill a couple of hours. Sure, I'll go. I mean, that may be the easiest. Maybe you're having an online watch. Maybe you've wrangled and finagled that. Anyway, I'm curious. Maybe you're doing a rewatch to prep for the premiere. Those are all the obvious things, but they take a little planning and a little setup. But dare say the world is not stoked and ready for this. With what? Strange New World to come right after? We'll see. Hopefully we won't have another blank spot in the year ahead, right? So you can kick it off. Whatever you're doing, you can kick it off this Saturday at 10, Saturday the 21st at 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern, to Boldly Go. Bonnie Gordon hosting, Angela Dalton, author of the new Nichelle Nichols children's book, How Nichelle and Star Trek Changed the World. Oh, wait, that's the Shatner title. How Nichelle and Star Trek championed civil rights in America through Star Trek. And you can still donate, being on the top of the pile, for Trek Talks too. And I'll just say real quick, Hollywood Food Coalition, you say, well, why should I give to something in Hollywood and LA? I have a local food bank right here. Very true. And I hope you do. And I hope you can do that. Heaven knows the need has not gone away, as was repeated over and over and over again. All the things that Star Trek pointed out and fought for, I think the vast majority we're still grappling with. We have our ups and downs. We have our 2 steps forward. We have our 1 step back. What you're doing here with the Hollywood Food Coalition is helping them avoid waste in the Hollywood catering industry for all the shoots going on, the TV shows. And not just that, they're evolving beyond that. LA is a major city, so you're helping a big chunk of people. Also, Hollywood Food Coalition is partnering with other food groups around the country to share their knowledge and awareness and bring some of the success they've found. And no, I don't mean with the location film industry overruns in every city in the country, because that doesn't happen. Although, I don't know, Atlanta, New York, there you go. But just sharing the know-how and outreach. So yeah, it is bigger than LA in some ways too. But it's just a good feeling. And you're doing it in the name of Star Trek, which I don't want to be crass, but again, gives everybody a good feeling. But to the outside world, oh, look, here's those Star Trek fans practicing what they preach and what their franchise preaches. So it's all good. It's all good. If you are watching us later on YouTube and you missed the live, I know that's the way it is. But if you've ever got a chance to join us at 1 p.m. Tuesdays, 4 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. UK GMT time, and 9 p.m. Central Europe. If you've ever got a chance to join us live, please do so and join in the chat. And even if you're watching us later, please leave comments below, all right, in the YouTube section. But otherwise, as you go away, just a real quick reminder, my site, we have 1 or 2 fun little questionnaires a month. I give you news about what's going on in Trekland. One of which is we're coming up on the cutoff for our special LA Away Days location site tours, 1-day tour in LA, set up to be the day before the Star Trek official cruise leaves LA this time, not from the East Coast. I decided to offer this for all the fans who are cruisers who have never been to LA before and had a chance to tour. the day before and the day after. The deadline's coming up to jump in. And if you're not on the cruise, but you get yourself to LA or you live here, you're welcome to join us too. All right. We're still not full. I've still got a few seats, 2, 3, 4 more seats I've got for the first one. Look it up. That's at LarryNemecek.com too. And then, of course, before I go any further, I got to say thank you. Thank you to our Patreon starting off the new year. Diana Hopkins, Robin Wilson, Lawrence Todd, Ed Marie Siegel, Keith Rombach, Justin Porteous, Nathaniel Robinson, Andrew Jasimski, Pranakasha Productions, Gay Clevin Lundstrom, and Galinda Bruton. And our live wires, Halberd Gunn Johnson, Robert McLean, Alan Hoenzi, J.R. Poole, Byron Bailey, Dave Gregory, and Casey Shefsky. Thank you. Thank you, guys. They're just giving us, I have a very small scale Patreon. It's just $5 and $10 a month if you want to help my outreach. I'd like to think we're doing something a little not so on the nose that the rest of Trek Online is doing. Awesome podcasts and live shows as they are. We're going to be growing it slow but sure this year as well. And we've come a long way since. So thanks to be multi-streaming. Thanks, everybody. Patreon.com/Trekland Live is where that is. All righty. What's really interesting, I mentioned the great Dave Blass. Well, he's our guest on the Trek Files this week. The new one is up. We are talking about a 1987 document trying Bob Justman, Gene Roddenberry, talking about how to lay out the bridge and who would sit where on the D. It's exactly the same kind of thing that confronted Dave and his gang as they laid out the Stargazer and all the other Starfleet ships and basically any set that needs characters in it. What's at stake? It's another one of those, how much things have changed and how much they're exactly the same. It's a wonderful time. Dave is awesome. You need to know him and follow him on socials. And you need to follow us too, Trek Files on Facebook. That's where our memos are every week. The Trek Files, just a hashtag. Podcast.roddenberry.com for all the other great Roddenberry podcasts. Sci-Fi 5 has been burning it up lately, as has Fan Addicts. And of course, the flagship Mission Log and Mission Log Live. Otherwise, I'm still Larry Nemecek on Mastodon as well as Twitter. It's Larry's Trekland on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Please like and subscribe. And Portal 47, we've been pulling in new members over the holidays and since. I'd love for you to join us and deep dive Star Trek every week. No more post-convention blues because Portal 47 is like a mini-con all year long. Several aspects to the monthly bundle. It was great. We just had Vince Dedrick was the stunt coordinator for Enterprise all 4 years. He's an awesome guy. Just loves sharing. And is, again, one of the folks that you rarely are going to hear from in print or on a podcast, much less live at a convention stage. And they all added so much to the Star Trek you know and love. And they bring their own photos, too, which is awesome. So we're doing that. So, everybody, it's great to share this Tuesday with you. Again, join us live if you can, if you're watching later. I got to say, stay healthy, do all the things, whatever you're doing in hiatus time and later. We've got some weirdness out there. Just make sure you're safe, all right? Do all the things. Stay woke. And you know, by woke, I mean be alert for the news you never know you didn't know. But at the same time, check the sources. Are they really a real person? Are they not a bogus troll account that's spewing stuff before you waste your time, which is exactly the game? We've gotten so much savvier the last 4 or 5 years. I like to think we beat down a lot of the troll game and who's funding them. Then we just have to see who's keeping us from knowing information in the first place. Yeah, that's where we are. We're going to get to our Star Trek future because I'm just saying, Trek well, everybody.